optimized set of instruction, and that set of instruction can only be interpreted by JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine. For that purpose, in command line, you have to write down Java, then space, then program name. That is shown in your lab. That's how you can compile a program and how you can execute a program. Java is one language that is compiled as well as interpreted. And once you have a compiled version of Java, any Java source code, then you are able to run this or execute this code in any platform, irrespective of the type of the programming environment or operating environment. That's why it is known as a platform independent. Okay, so if possible, do it by the from the command prompt and using the notepad. Then you will get familiar the concept that I have just shared with you. And in your last class, I have shared this concept with you. Okay, next. I think you don't have any doubt from the first C portion, that is the, just a minute. We are at this point, that is we are describing the characteristics of Java program. It is object oriented, it is simple, it is secure and platform independent. These four portion is already covered to you. So any doubt from this 4 point? Otherwise, we will move for the next point, that is robust. Why Java is called a robust programming language? Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can share it with me. Any doubts? At least answer my question. Have you any doubts regarding the first 4 point?
No, ma'am.
That's fine. Okay. So next part we will study that why Java is called a robust programming language. Okay. First of all, I am describing you the main features why Java is called the robust programming language. Then if you have any query, you can ask me. Okay. So first part, the most important part, that is the multi-platform environment of any web places. It extraordinarily definitely demands on a program because the program must execute reliably, mind it these terms, that is reliably in a variety of systems. Thus, the ability to create, that is the robust program, was given in a high priority in the design of Java. This term very important, that is the reliability. Reliability means if there is some unwanted condition, how your system will work. Okay, if there is some unwanted or undesirable, not desirable some situation, then what will happen to a system? It will provide you the intended output, or it will provide you the output in an approximation. How much approximation will be correct, like that? This question arises whenever we are talking about the robustness of any programming language. Okay, so to gain this reliability, then Java restrict you in a few key areas to force you to find your mistake early in the program development. So whenever you are developing your program, so at the very early, that means that during the compile time, later you will see there are two type of checking in Java programming, that is for compile time and the runtime. So if there are several errors that can be checked during the compile time, it will be more easier to you to find out the error at the very beginning stage. So these same times Java frees you from having to worry about many of the most common causes of programming error. We'll study how this can be happened. Okay, because Java is a strictly typed language, it checks your code during the compile time. Okay. However, it also checks your code at runtime also. This both time checking can be happened in case of Java programming language. But in fact, many hard to track down bugs that often turn up in hard to reproduce the runtime situation. This is simply impossible to create in Java. Knowing that what you have written will believe in a predictable way under diverse condition is a key features of Java. So what is the meaning of it? For better understanding of this part, there are two main reasons we need to check about. The first one is the memory management mistake, and second one is the mishandled exception condition that occurs during the runtime. Mind it, there are two main important points through which we can check this robustness. That is the memory management mistake as well as the mishandled exception condition that occurs during the runtime. Most of the programming error or programming bugs falls upon in these two categories. That is, you are not appropriately using the memory management scheme, as well as you can do some erroneous tasks during the runtime of your program. Okay, so these two parts can be worried out by a programmer in case of any procedural language or other language. But Java provides you two main features for the users of the Java programmer who don't worry about these two parts. How this can be happen? Now, memory management can be difficult. We all know that memory management is very much difficult and it's a tedious task in traditional programming environment. For case of what can be happened in case of C, or you can just, most of you are familiar with C++. So in case of C++ language, the programmer must manually allocate as well as deallocate, or we can say that is the free all dynamic memory. This sometimes leads to problem because programmer will either forget to free memory that has been previously allocated, or try to free some memory that another part of your program or your code is still using. Okay, this can be happened by most of the programmer. In case of you, if you want to do the memory management by manually, but Java virtually eliminates this problem by managing memory allocation as well as deallocation for you in C. This is known as Java garbage collection. Okay, for unused object. Java provides you one feature that is known as Java's automatic garbage collection. So you don't need to bother about the allocation as well as the deallocation of the memory location that is held up by some object. So there is no cause to change the situation, like that you are just freeing a particular reference that is held by another part of your program. This is the case for first one. And next one, that is the exceptional condition in traditional environment often arise in situation such as during the runtime you are just dividing one particular element by zero. It will provide you the runtime error. Okay, or you are just want to accessing a particular file that is not available during that time. So this type of error is known as exception in Java, and there are several mechanisms that are provided by Java programming language that you can handle this exception. There are several keywords that can be used to handle this type of exception. There may be the arithmetic exception, there may be the some null pointer exception, many other exceptions that can be handled because Java provides a separate mechanism for it. So using these two processes, we can say that is Java is a robust programming language. So that if there is some unwanted situation during the memory management scheme or then during the any exception handling scheme, then Java can provide you the support so that your system will not crash or your system will not at the lowest reliability. Okay, clear to all of you why Java is called robust? Just because of two features of Java, it is known as robust. First one is Java's automatic garbage collection facility, and second one is Java's exception handling mechanism. These two parts is very important because most of the programmer do exception or do error in these two parts whenever they want to do it manually. That is the memory management scheme as well as the exception handling scheme that is occurred during the runtime. Okay, so for these two parts, there are two separate mechanisms that is known as Java's automatic garbage collection as well as Java's exception handling mechanism. Using these two parts, we can say that is Java is a robust language. Any doubt? Any doubt? Any doubts?
Ma'am, please repeat it.
No, ma'am.
Please repeat once more.
Okay. Listen. When we can say what is the meaning of robustness? Can you tell me that what is the meaning of reliability? From this point, you can say that is Java is a robust programming language or reliable programming language. When or except this Java programming language, when you can say that a person is reliable, can you define that? You can say that a person is reliable if there is some unwanted situation, that situation that is not expected. Okay, but instead of that situation, that person provide you some operation or application to you. Just like that, there is a server crash. Okay, just think about the banking application. You are the customer of the bank. Okay, and if there is several server issues related for one day, that doesn't mean that your bank balance or your bank account details will be lost. For some time, your operation, your all the desired action can be interrupted. But after some duration, it will be okay. Okay, so you can say that if your bank facility is reliable. Now, if you are checking or if you are availing the ATM facility for SBI Bank, and you are not getting that all time the server is down, you are not getting the money from that ATM, then you can say that this ATM facility is not reliable for SBI Bank. Okay, this is the reliability. If there is some error, maybe your expectation of level of expectation is degraded, is lower, but still you will get some output from it that will be approximated. Like the programming language, if we just transfer this concept to the programming language, whenever you are doing some program, then you need to do some extra action. That is, whenever you are doing a large number of programming code, thousand numbers of programs. Okay, you are using files, several files. At that time, what you have to do? You have a limited amount of memory in your computing devices. So if you are there are some operation or there are some functions that you are not using for long amount of time, then what you will do? The memory occupied by the variable for that function, you just want to free it up so that the next variable can be stored on that location so that your program can continue in a smooth manner. So in case of procedural language or in case of the C++, that is this is also object-oriented language, this can be done by manually. Manually, you have to allocate memory. Manually, you have to deallocate memory. But what happened with this facility? Sometimes there may be some erroneous stuffs. Just like you are freeing up memory, that particular variable is used by some other function of your total programming code, your whole programming code. At that point, you are not aware of that, and that may be needed in future, just not in a long duration, just for a few seconds. After few seconds, this variable will be required by your program. So this will hamper your programming code, your programming application if you manually do it. But Java provides you an automatic garbage collection, and you don't need to bother about it that which memory location is occupied for long amount of time, which memory location need to freeze up. Okay, this part Java automatically done. Not any Java programmer needs to bother about it. That's why it is robust. These features Java provides you. And the next one thing that is very also important, that is during runtime sometimes users of the code do some unwanted operation. Unwanted operation means you are just by mistake you are dividing a particular variable by 0. Is this not possible? So your program will stop at that point. Whenever you will get that operation that any variable is divided by 0, it is not possible. So it will provide you an interrupt and your program will stop in case of procedural language. Okay. There may be some other unwanted information, that the unwanted tasks, just like that you just want to access a particular file that is not available in your directory, current directory. So whenever any compiler or any programming language that you have used for that particular application, you are getting an interruption, and rest of your program will not execute. In such situation, Java also provide you an extra feature that is known as a Java exception handling. Whenever such kind of exception, such kind of error have happened in your programming code, at that time Java provides you some mechanism through which you can handle this problem. And after handling this problem, if you are able to handle this problem, so rest of your code will not be hampered. Rest of your code can be executed. You all know whenever in your program there is some runtime error, there is some situation for runtime error. At that time, your program execution will be stopped. Okay, whatever be the rest of the part, whether it will be all correct or not, that doesn't bother it. So in case of Java, it will not happen like that. If you are performing any runtime exception or error, that can also be handled by Java programmer. He will provide you some exception handling mechanism through which rest of the code will not be hampered. Only that portion will be stopped, will not be executed basically. The remaining portion of your code will be executed. So these two features is very much important in case of Java programming language. That's why it is known as robust as well as reliable. Okay, now it is clear to you. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
You are asking? Okay. The next part that is known as a portable. This portability part is already defined to you why this is portable. All this part, that is this portable, architecture neutral, as well as platform independent, these three parts is very much related to each other. Since we are able to execute any Java program in any platform, any programming environment. Okay, then we can always say that it is portable. We can port this program from one machine to another machine that are geographically distributed over some internet or using some network. That's why it is portable. Similar concept can be applicable for architecture neural. Whatever be the operating system that you are using, if you have corresponding JVM for that corresponding compiler basically for that architecture, then you will be able to produce the bytecode. And whenever you are able to producing the bytecode, that bytecode will be executed all environment, all architecture, irrespective of its nature. That's why it is also known as the architecture neutral. There is no specific restriction for any architecture. But one restriction is needed, make it clear that you must have the compiler that is compatible with that architecture, who will produce the bytecode or dot class file. And if you are able to do that, that bytecode can be executed on any environment, any architecture. That's why it is known as the architecture neutral. Okay, clear? So these three parts is very much related to each other. That is the architecture neutral, platform independent, as well as the portable. Okay. Now the next one that is known as the dynamic. Why Java is, this is also related to this point also, that why Java is dynamic. Actually, Java programs carry with them substantial amount of runtime type information that is used to verify and resolve access to object at runtime. It may be sometimes confusing to you, like recently, because what is the meaning of object? Whenever we will do the program of Java, then we will be familiar with the object. Object is nothing but the real life existence of any entity. Okay. So whenever you will do that, you want to access this object during the runtime, then it will provide you the facility. Okay. And sometimes this mistake is possible to dynamically link your code in a safe and expedient manner. This is crucial to the robustness of applet environment. We are talking about the applet programming. This is the small Java program that you can enable in your web browser, okay, or any web pages that will provide you some dynamic facility. That means you can just run your program in a there is some animation like that, or you are familiar with that. That whenever you are just opening or displaying any web pages, I think most of you have seen that there are some pop-up, there are some advertisement of any particular look like there are some educational system or any Flipkart or any e-commerce site. Have you ever seen this type of pop-up in whenever you are opening any web pages? Have you ever seen it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, these are the applet programming. These are the applet programming. This is nothing but a small window is opening in your total screen, in your whole screen of your laptop or your PC or whatever bigger. That means I want to say that in the web pages. In the web pages, there is a small window, and that small window have its own control. In that window, there is a specific, you don't know what is actually happening behind it. This is basically some Java applet programming, and that is enabled in your browser. Whenever you are just linking with a particular website, particular web pages, to that web pages, that Java applet programming is just coming to your browser and shows it in your page. So this is one kind of dynamic thing. This is not just the static thing you are doing the Java programming, we are making one particular application on them. But and mind it, this applet programming is very much small. This is not a long length program. Okay. And in this applet programming environment, small fragment of bytecode may be dynamically updated on the running system. When we'll study the applet programming in detail, then we'll see how we can develop this type of small window, this pop-up window, and make your browser how the app enable with the applet programming with this pop-up window. In this pop-up window, you can display anything that is mainly for advertisement purpose. We are getting familiar with that several advertisement is popped up when you link to a particular website. Sometimes it is in the Google also. Okay, so this is the case for dynamic. That's why Java is known as the dynamic programming language. The next one is interpreted. It is also discussed with you that why Java is called compiled as well as interpreted. For full execution of a Java program, first of all, your source code is compiled to a bytecode, and that bytecode will be interpreted by the JVM to provide you the actual output. Just make this line in your mind in a permanent place. This is very important. This is the core concept of Java programming. And most of the cases, at the interview, you will be asked with this concept. What do you mean by bytecode? What do you mean by Java compiler? What do you mean by Java interpreter? When you are using in the command form, that is Java C, this is Java compiler. It will convert your source code to a bytecode. This bytecode is nothing but dot plus file. And that dot plus file, whenever you are writing the Java this command, JVA in your command form, that means it is nothing but an interpreter that will interpret your program to the final output. That's why Java is known as a compiled as well as interpreted language. Here, the next one is that is high performance. I'll not it because you all know why Java has a huge performance. All the features, if you can implement in a single program, single application program, then definitely your performance, just like this robustness, your capability is the file interpreted language as well as the object-oriented programming features, that is the encapsulation inheritance. If you can able to perform all this facility in a single unit, then definitely it will provide you high performance. Means you will getting your intended information or desired output in a less amount of time. Application program can be developed in a less amount of time with less otherness. Okay, that's why it is a robust language. You don't need to bother about the memory management as well as the runtime exception. So you need to bother about the runtime exception, but you have mechanism to handle this runtime exception. You will be definitely aware of that fact that there must not be any runtime exception, any error. Because in the section you will make this exception, that portion will not be executed. But the remaining portion of your code that will be executed. Okay. So for this purpose or for these features, Java is a very much high performance language. It will provide huge performance to the programmer as well as to the user of the application program that is developed by the Java programming language. Okay. Now the next part, that is multi-threaded. It is also important whenever we will do the Java thread, then you will see it why it will be known as the multi-threaded programming language and for which purpose this multi-threaded programming is useful to your application. Can you tell me that what do you mean by thread? What is thread? Process thread in operating system? Can anyone have the idea that what do you mean by a process or what do you mean by thread? No idea? What is thread? It is nothing but a lightweight process. Okay, for each and every process, separate memory location will be allocated. But whenever you are dividing the process into several threads, single memory location will be used for all the threads for performing a particular application. Okay, this has a huge benefit of any programming environment. If any language, any programming language support these features, that means the memory management will be performed efficiently. Okay, and for Java programming language, there is also another important features, another important part for this multi-threaded programming. That is basically it was designed to meet the real world environment of creating interactive network programs. This point is very much important. That is the interactive network programs. To accomplish this, Java supports multi-threading programming. It allows you to write programs that do many things simultaneously. But mind it, whenever you are performing many things simultaneously, the same memory location that will be allocated for a particular process is used by all the threads that will be created from that process. That's why it is very much important. And Java supports this feature. That's definitely that for that purpose, it will provide the high performance. Okay. And the next part, that is the distributed. If you have any doubts, you can just stop me and ask me. Okay. Don't keep it in a silent mode. If you have any doubts, then you can ask me. Because this each and every feature you need to study it in an elaborate way. For this purpose, we need to study several concepts. That why this is portable, why this is dynamic, why this will provide that multi-threading concept like that, why it is object oriented. This will be this will be discussed throughout of the semester. The several mechanism behind these features that you need to study in detail. Okay. So we'll study the last point, that is the distributed. Java is basically designed for the distributed environment of the internet because it handles the TCP/IP protocol. Have you familiar with networking? The ISO-SI
No,
model, the
madam.
TCP model. In which
No, madam.
semester do you have
Networking
them?
is next semester, sir. Sixth semester, madam.
Okay, so in this point you will not understand that what is the meaning of TCP/IP model. Basically, to perform the networking activity, there are some protocols. Protocols means there is a predefined set of rules that every user of the network need to be followed. Okay, we can think the whole world as a connected network. And now I'm not discussing about how this connectivity will be handled like that. You will study in details when you will study the networking, but this is most exciting and important part that we need to study, that how this whole world is connected, what are the underlying logic behind it, so that we can communicate with each and everyone that are geographically distributed. But for that purpose, you need to think about this whole networking as a separate model. And there are two models that are available to describe this part. One is known as the TCP/IP model. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. And IP stands for Internet Protocol. Okay, this is a TCP/IP model. So whole networking architecture is divided into several parts. Actually, in TCP/IP model, there are 5 layers, and in case of ISO-SI model, there are 7 layers. So this is not related to your Java program, but you should have that knowledge that whenever we are thinking about the whole network wall, then it can be defined as a model. And this model in networking, there are two models are available. Initially, it was ISO-SI model, and later it will be reduced to TCP/IP model, because in ISO-SI model there are 7 layers of protocols, and in TCP/IP model there are actually 5 layers. Okay, this is a basic information. But what is the why it is related to Java? Actually, accessing a resource using URL, what is written in the search bar, that is the URL, is not much different from the accessing a file. So the original version of the Java included features for intra-address space messaging. Mind it, intra-address space messaging. This will allow object of one different computer to execute procedure remotely. That is, Java received this interface in a package that is known as the RMI. I think most of you have learned about the RMI, that is the remote method invocation. This feature brings an unparalleled level of abstraction to client server programming. So whenever we are talking about the internet, the connected world, that means there are some servers who are managing the activity, and there are some clients who are getting the operation, or who are getting the beneficial from the server. Okay, so whenever this is the part, if we just think about the whole world as this client server architecture, that means there are several. Just think about the previous example, that is the banking system. The SBI Bank, the ICICI Bank, the Axis Bank, these several banks are several branches throughout the India. And throughout India, there are several servers to manage the activity. And there is a level of hierarchy of this activity of these servers also. Okay. So if you want to manage this server activity, that means if there is some natural disaster that destroy one server, then there must be some function, there must be some facility, so that that server information can be retrieved from other words. That means that server information needs to be replicated to some other server. So if you think about in this way, that means in networking perspective, then Java provides in one particular mechanism that is known as a remote method invocation. That means you are at the client in a particular PC, you can just invoke, you can just bring out one particular method that is remotely executed. Okay, Or you can think that you can invoke a particular method into your machine, and at your machine you will execute that method. You are familiar with method? Method means nothing but this is a just like similar to the function. So if this is the case, then we can say then Java is distributed. Okay, because all the Java application, all the Java programming can be geographically distributed. It can be executed anywhere. And this is nothing not related to the portability. This is related to the method invocation. Now you are executing another machine process to your own machine by invoking that particular method. Not like that you are compiled your program, you are making your bytecode, and you are just transferring your bytecode from one network to another network. This is not the case. In this case, you are following the client server architecture, and suppose you are the client, you are invoking some methods that is stored in the server machine, and by after invoking that method, you are executing that method in your own machine. This procedure is known as the remote method invocation, and Java provides you that features. That's why you can say that is Java is distributed. Okay, so these are the 12 features, 12 main features that a Java program can execute. Okay, that's why Java is too much induced with its facility. Doubts? Any doubts from this? It can be asked with any of the features of this Java characteristics in your MCQ also, or you can get 5 marks to 4 marks question from this point. Just you will be asked why Java support these features. Okay. Any doubts so far? Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
So the next part, why Java is most popular. I am just skipping this part because I have already discussed with you with the features. For the basic features of Java, it is definitely most popular. Most popular, the main part is that is we can provide the reusability. Okay, and the second part that is reliable, that is portable. That's why it has the high popularity. These two parts is already discussed with you. That is what are the procedural programming language and what are the object-oriented programming language. That is basically two programming principle. Okay, whenever you are providing with a particular application, then you need to think about that how you can solve it. You can solve it either by going some procedural process, procedural language, that is just like C. So at that time you need to think about the function. That using which function you can perform that application. Or the next thing, you can think about the whole application as some collection of real life objects. And after that, you have to develop some method to implement that particular application. This is the case for object oriented. Okay. This is a tabular form representation of approach and the object oriented approach. F stands for here file oriented procedure. Okay. Just go through it, and I will also provide you this PPT. I think this portion is already described with you. This is the main Java programming approach that is described in why Java is known as the object-oriented programming language. These features is provided by Java, that is encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. And there is also another part that I have discussed with you, that is abstraction. Okay, data should not be accessible by everyone. That is that I have provided you the example for any banking system. This is known as information hiding, as well as this is the case for data abstraction. Okay, so these are the main features Java programming language. This part you can study. We'll study actually these features. This is a Java program. This is already described with you how you can save this program. I just remind you one thing, this program name should be same of your class name. Don't make mistake of that. Your class name should be same with your program name. Otherwise, you will get one exception. That is class not found. You can do it by your own if you have the command prompt editor, that you can store the program and in a different name and then try to execute it or compile it. Then you will get one exception, that is class not found. This particular exception will be happen during the runtime, and through your program you can also handle it. You have to study the detailed procedure of exception handling. But at this time, you can get familiar with that part, that how this class not found exception can happen. You can execute it. You can execute this program with a different name. First of all, you just compile it. Try to compile it. Okay. Then you will see one particular thing. I am not telling you like right now what will happen. If it is compiled successfully, then try to interpret it using this command. Then you will get some runtime exception. Okay, and the name of this runtime exception is class not found. Okay, then you will be familiar with the error. And whenever you want to learn a particular programming language, you need to know about the type of the error. If you are able to find out the type of the error, or if you can connect the error with your code, then you have done 50% of your programming language. Okay, just do it. This JVM is already done. Now this two part is very much important. With this part, I will complete this class. First one is JDK and second one is JRE. In the last class, I have discussed with you the concept of JDK and JRE. I have just told you to install JDK in your machine. It is a full development kit. Okay. It is a complete Java development kit that includes all the things. That means the JRE, that means the compiler, that means the Java debugger, and any other linking language, linking document. Okay, that can be in a doc file or any other file. Okay. This is a pictorial representation of JDK. Now look at it. In JDK, there is a subpart that is known as a JRE. Okay, and except JRE, there is also another part that is known as the development tools. That is the compiler, that is the interpreter, like that. Okay, so JRE is a part of JDK. JRE includes a browser, JVM, and Applet support and plugins. That's why it's named like that, Java Runtime Environment. Okay. For running the program, you need JRE. This is the main point, that is JDK includes JRE. So don't be confused with JDK and JRE. JRE is a subpart of JDK. The full form of JDK is Java Development Kit and full form of JRE is Java Runtime Environment. In Java Runtime Environment, it includes normally the browser, in which it is a Java compatible browser definitely, and the Java virtual machine. And if you want to do some dynamic programming, that is the applet support. And there are several others plugins. All these things is included in JRE. Okay. And whenever you want to run a Java program, you need this JRE. But for the whole package or whole development of your Java program as well as executing the Java program, I will support you to install the JDK. Okay. This is the part of the JRE I have already discussed. This is a simple Java program. It is already described to you that what is the meaning of each and every point in the lab class, that what is the meaning of class, what is the meaning of public, static, void, main, what is the meaning of this string args, and what is the meaning of system.out.println. Okay, do you have any query regarding this part or any particular word? Because this is the last point of today's class. In the next day, we will start from creative class as well as the object. Any doubts? Any doubt, student?
Ma'am, what is a FOP?
What is?
FOP.
It is file-oriented procedure. It is file-oriented procedure. That is the traditional procedure. We have now studied about the object-oriented procedure, and FOP means it is the file-oriented procedure. Any other query? If you have any query, then you can tell me. Because we are running out of our time. You just have download your attendance. Any queries, students?
No, ma'am.
No, no, Adam.
No, ma'am.
That's okay, fine. So try to start beginning of the study of these books, that is the complete reference. Okay. In the lab session, we will describe the several other programming approaches, at least the traditional programming that you have done in C program that can be converted to a object-oriented program. How we can convert it in an object-oriented program, that will be described in lab. Okay, and it is a request to all of you, be available with PC or laptop, not the smartphone. If you are using IDE, it's okay, but it's a suggestion to all of you. If possible, then try to install the JDK. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so I am leaving this meeting now.
ম্যাম এই পিডিএফটা কিসে শেয়ার করে দেবেন?
If you want, then in WhatsApp or TCSN, whatever be there, I will share it in both.
ম্যাম হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে শেয়ার করে দেবেন।
Okay.
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম।